Thank you and good morning to everyone here at this select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. In 46 days, Americans will go to the polls for one of the most consequential elections of our lifetimes. Americans will decide the composition of Congress as well as the next president of the United States. And then prayerfully, this select committee will be over because the purpose of this committee will no longer be necessary. What was that purpose? Well, it's what I said almost 2 years ago: to test out conspiracy theories, prop up those stories that the far right wishes to push into the American psyche, and to lay the groundwork for a dictatorial government led by Donald Trump. Now, immediately, you'll hear moans of disapproval, and X, formerly called Twitter, is going to call me a racist. They're gonna call me a disrespectful black bitch because I have said words against the chairman, my white male counterpart on this committee. I'm a tool of the woke agenda. I've heard it, I've read it all, as well as so many of my colleagues that are here. More moderate individuals will say I'm being an alarmist and that there's no way America becomes a dictatorship. We're just pointing out how the federal government comes after conservatives. But in the 2 years that we've been doing this Groundhog Day over and over and over again, there has been no evidence to show that the federal government, and in particular the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, or the Department of Justice has been wholly weaponized against the right. The same way my Republican colleagues have not been able to show that Joseph Biden has committed impeachable offenses or that Secretary Mayorkas committed any high crimes and misdemeanors. And they knew they never could because, as Biggie says, it was just a dream. We've had hearings and over about the federal government, again, the FBI and DOJ in particular, in the White House trying to stop free speech on social media platforms. Other committees, along with this one, have spent millions of taxpayer dollars interviewing senior social media executives, and particularly those that set the parameters of content moderation, to say that the sites unfairly come after conservatives. When what we have learned is that those executives have in the past tried to provide users with corrections to disinformation and misinformation, which may create health risks, put people in danger, or may have placed falsely by the enemies of our country to try to sow election disinformation and false narratives to weaken our democratic election system. This committee has been used to weaken that system, following the desires of far-right conspiracy theorists, and in particular, Elon Musk, to allow them free rein on these platforms. American civilians have been harassed, threatened, doxxed. And Mr. Musk, since you think tweeting or Xing or whatever it is you do on your platform about me is gonna scare me to be quiet, you obviously don't know what I'm made of. Generations of individuals who have fought for me to have the ability to say what I want to say, to speak the truth. You forget that this is not pre-1990s apartheid South Africa, the country of your birth. This is America. And there are more of us Americans that love our diversity, our rule of law, than there are of you who would like us all to be sycophants to your ego. The outcome of hearings of this committee have supported my claim that from the very beginning of the creation of this select subcommittee, that this has been the gaslighting to the nth degree, a tremendous projection of the highest order, that the evidence is the words of their leader, their would-be Führer, Donald Trump, and Project 2025, a 900-page manifesto of a transformed America. Donald Trump has spoken his intentions out loud, and his followers were so bold as to put it in a document with his knowledge to outline how they would create a state to serve the interests of a few at the expense of the many. Trump, himself a convicted felon, has pledged that on day one of, this is a quote, "On day one of my new administration, I will direct the DOJ to investigate every radical DA and Attorney General for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law," end quote. He has said that undocumented immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, end quote, language echoing the rhetoric of Nazi Germany, and has promised to invoke the Alien Enemies Act to, quote, carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Who would defend his use of the law for that purpose? The Department of Justice. And he has promised, Trump's words, to stock the federal government, including the Department of Justice and FBI, with appointees loyal to him and only him. Not to the Constitution, which he has separately said could be revoked because if it doesn't do what he wants it to do, who will carry out his every order without question. The how to do these threats have been flushed out by individuals absolutely loyal to Trump. How do we know that? Because the vast majority of individuals who worked on his cabinet have stated they look forward to working with him again and instituting Project 2025. Russ Vought, former director of OMB and policy director for the Republican National Convention, wrote the details for the consolidation of executive power in Project 2025. Stephen Miller, a former advisor to Trump who has crafted the most sweeping immigration agenda, has been an advisor of Project 2025 through his dark money group, American First Legal. We remember Stephen Miller, the architect of Donald Trump's most inhumane border policies and the champion of the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory. That's Stephen Miller. In April of 2022, Trump spoke with the Heritage Foundation after meeting with its head, Kevin Roberts, and said that the group would, quote, lay the groundwork and detailed plan for exactly what our movement will do, end quote. Voila, Project 2025, the conservative blueprint for remaking the federal government if Donald Trump is reelected. Trump's words and Project 2025 are exactly what the Democratic members of this committee said back when this committee started that their leader, Trump, was trying to do. The mandate of Project 2025 for leadership directs the Department of Justice, which seems to be the main focus of so many of our hearings, along with the FBI, to fill the department with as many political appointees as opposed to career civil servants as possible, especially in the Civil Rights Division, the FBI, and the Executive Office of Immigration Review. Initiate legal action against local officials, including district attorneys, who refuse to prosecute criminal offenses in their jurisdiction, specifically DAs in liberal jurisdictions. Criminally punish abortion providers who distribute abortion pills through the mail to patients in need of reproductive health care. Shift responsibility for prosecuting election-related offenses from DOJ's Civil Rights Division to the Criminal Division, which, according to the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights and Human Rights, will open the door to sham investigations and aggressive prosecution of voters and election officials, and serve to intimidate state and local election workers already under threat and could criminalize election administration disputes. We could go on. This is the true weaponization of the federal government, and this is what we should be addressing today. But what are we doing here today in a subcommittee? 46 days before the most consequential election, we're holding yet another hearing in which my Republican colleagues will try to advance conspiracy theories about the DOJ and the FBI. Let me state plainly, contrary to what you will hear from my counterparts today, there is no conspiracy in the whole of the FBI to root out conservatives in that agency. What we do have is sustained campaign pushed forward by a single entity and a group of disgruntled former FBI employees who are known to have committed to attacking, smearing, and degrading career civil servants. So why are we having the hearing? Why have we had all of these hearings? What is the point of this subcommittee? Because it's necessary for the public and the media to hear, to try, and provide cover for the eradication of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We are having these hearings so that you become immune. You become inured to the notion of the removal of the FBI and DOJ, so that those agencies are no longer there to serve as a check against white nationalism, great replacement theorists, Christian nationalists, white fragility, fascists, and the twice impeached convicted felon, former president and would-be dictator, Donald Trump. I yield back.